Hey guys, so this is week 12 of the Vivas, and I just wanted to, this is Alan, and look, he follows your finger, kind of. Oh, no, the Viva fell. Well, he kind of follows your finger, but he's pretty cool, and I just wanted to show you guys my fish, because I love Alan. Say hi, Alan. So whatever, I'm sorry. Okay, wait, I have to get my Viva together. I also, okay, so we're just gonna film it like this today. So, you can see Alan in the background. So today, on week 12, because this is totally week 12, hopefully in that, whatever. Okay, we're just gonna start. Okay, so, the question for week 12 was, what historical trends led to the creation of the Holy Roman Empire? And so, although, Voltaire, this philosopher, mocks the empire as, quote, neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire, end quote, the Holy Roman Empire managed to, through the Carolingian Renaissance, create a papal Frankish alliance against Byzantine, reestablish a Roman counterweight to Constantinople, and help provide the foundations for the Holy Roman Empire. So, number one, my 3 points are that they present cultural memories of Rome, growing conflict between the Franks and the Byzantines, and the Frankish papal political connections. So, let's go through this, shall we? Okay. So, my first point is that there was cultural memories of Rome everywhere. So, Rome was, huge, and it was glorious. And so, when it fell, there's going to be remains of it everywhere. And there's actually a quote from, I forgot his name, Ian Chaney. And it says, quote, with the fall of the Western Roman Empire, roads crumbled, trade stopped, schools closed, literacy dwindled. Can't read what I wrote. Something collapsed. Aquatics collapsed. Okay, sorry. And various barbarians feasted on Rome's cold courts. And so, this was just true. Like, many people came in and they saw Rome, destroyed Rome around them. And so they took a ton of examples from that. So, even if you look at the buildings and you look at, the barbarians' buildings, they're super simple and they're super plain. And then you look at Rome's buildings and they're big and they're beautiful and they're symmetrical and they're beautiful, and so you can just see the differences here. So Charlemagne, he was having a hard time controlling the empire, and so he looked at history, specifically Roman history, because Rome is just this great time of history and this great empire in history for his wisdom and for what to do. And he found that transportation, having a good transportation system like roads, having a good working system like farming, and having beautiful language and literacy mattered. And this would unite, these three things would unite their kingdom. And so the Carolingians, rewrote tons of ancient Latin literature that we have today. And this is, if Charlemagne didn't enforce learning Latin again and stuff, we wouldn't normally have some of the books that we have. And Charlemagne also used the osmosis method, so he could not read or write, but he tried to learn by practicing. I think this is a really cute story. He practiced in his bed at night with The City of God by Augustine. He would hide it under his pillow, and he would practice writing it, and he would practice reading it. But he had very little success, so it was kind of sad, but I think that's just a really cool thing, and I think that's adorable, but whatever. So my second point is the growing conflict between the Franks and the Byzantines. So the Byzantine Empire begins to fall to Islam during this time. And so they asked, there were these Christian people. And so they're like, why is God, if God's on our side, why is he letting us lose to Islam? Because we're Christians and they're wrong, and what the heck? And so they decided that it was the icons, and that people were worshiping icons more than worshiping God. So Leo III destroyed a ton of the church art, which is really sad that we don't have a lot of church art now. But he destroyed a lot of it because he just thought that it was evil and satanic, and yeah. And so then, he just does this. And so then he passes away, and his son, Leo IV, comes, into rule or whatever, into Pope, whatever. He becomes Pope. And then he dies early on. And so his son, Constantine VI, comes into rule. But he, at this time, he's pretty young. And so his mother, Irene, who likes icons, takes control. And so she is ruling the kingdom at this point. And Irene is insane. She is a very crazy woman. She's super violent and super hardcore. And yeah, she's just insane. So when her son turns 16, she decides to pick a wife for him. And so she picks this beautiful Charlemagne's daughter, and she's beautiful, and her son actually likes her, and everything is going to be great. But then the last minute, the mom calls off the wedding because she's evil. She calls off the wedding, and she just picks this really boring girl called Mary of Aram, and Constantine VI marries her, the fourth. Is it the fourth or the sixth? I thought it was the sixth. Constantine VI. I'm pretty sure it's the sixth. Constantine VI marries her, and he does not necessarily like her, and he's just kind of sad about that. So, whatever. He moves on, though, and he comes into rule, and he comes into control, and he decides that he is going to rule. And so his mom has other plans, and so she kind of says, like, oh, like, we can co-rule, and that would be great. And he tells his mom no, and he banishes her, and so she leaves. But then he realizes that because his mother had done everything for him for his whole life, he can't rule without her. And so he decides to take her back, and he begs his mom to come back. And so the mom comes back, and they begin to do this co-rule. So, they co-rule, but really the mom's just ruling and the son's just pretending to rule. And it's great. And so, one day, Constantine's out riding his horses, and some guards come up to him, and they're like, your mom wants to see you in the birthing suite, like, right away. You gotta come right away. And so he, goes into the birthing suite, which is where, like, women would have babies, and this beautiful place overlooking the sea, and in this big weird purple bed or something. And so she tells him what a big disappointment he is, and she's laying in this bed where people give birth, and she tells Constantine how much of a pain she went through to birth him, and how much she wished that she couldn't go through that pain anymore, and that he wasn't worth it. And it's just this awful thing she says to him, and she crushes him basically. And then she tells him that he is going to feel the same pain that she went through on this birthing bed. And so she has her guards hold him down on this birthing bed and cut out his eyes and just tear, and he bleeds to death from his eyeballs. So she's insane, and this is like an awful story. And so this is a quote from Dr. Parker, and it says, quote, therefore, leaving her mother in power and leading the Pope to start actively looking for a new and hopefully less psychotic emperor of Rome, end quote. So, he passes away, and, then there's this division between Byzantine and the Franks, because, the Pope is terrified of this insane Irene lady, and so they need to find a new emperor, or empress, and it's just insane. So that was just a crazy story. And so my second point, though, my third point, sorry, we're just gonna move on because that story is really sad. and I'm sorry because I don't like giving sad vivas, but it's fine. Okay, whatever. So my third point is that the Frankish papal political connections formed these Holy Roman Empire. So now again, that's kind of the holy point, where so we have our Roman point that they look to Rome for what to do, and the holy point is that the Pope decided that they needed somebody better in charge than Irene, this psychotic lady. And so now we're going to kind of look at the empire part. So Charlemagne was not the perfect Christian, and he says this, and this is a quote from him, and he says, quote, "If anyone shall wish to do further kindness to them, he shall know that he best reward will be from God." So he still tries, though, and he has these great Christian morals, and he tries to, he asks for forgiveness, and he tries to do the best that he can do. So Byzantine was so Byzantine is dealing with this whole Irene, Constantine VI situation, and they are, being forced to have these icons, and their Italian friends are being attacked, and so they don't really have any connections. They don't have anyone to get them out, and so Italy had to find somebody to turn to because Byzantine couldn't help them. So on April 25th, 799, Pope Leo III was actually physically attacked, and they actually told him they wanted to take his eyes out and they wanted to cut his tongue out, and Charlemagne decided, no, this is enough. As the Holy Roman Empire, we are going to protect the church. And so he goes and he protects his Pope Leo III, and he protects the church. And Leo III, shortly after this, crowns Charlemagne Holy Roman Empire, Emperor of Rome, Holy Roman Emperor of whatever, of something. And so he crowns him, and this is just, he's holy, not holy, but he's definitely was chosen by God to rule this empire. And this is another quote from Charlemagne, and it says, quote, "If anyone," I already read that. So, overall, even though Voltaire, this philosopher, says that the empire was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire, he probably was just saying this as a joke, because it's very obvious that the Holy Roman Empire, through the Carolingian Renaissance, created this beautiful empire, and they had, help through looking back to Rome's memories and through growing conflict between the Franks and the Byzantine, and also political connections that they got through kind of Irene. But yeah, so that's it for this Viva. This is actually our break, so I'm really excited, and I hope I see all of you in my class during break, and I love all of you so much. This is a shout out to my class, my fam. I'm the mom of the family, and this is my shout out to all of the wonderful people in my class. So shout out to Eli, shout out to Rachel, shout out to Sarah, shout out to Violet, shout out to Josh Forth, and finally shout out to Hope. See you guys. Say bye, Alan. Oh, he's obviously in a mood. No, look, he's coming. Alan. See, bye, Alan.